Cheers, y'all. It has been a minute, but we are trying to crawl our way back before the Berlin Marathon. All right, 5 miles, run and done, keeping it nice and easy as we slowly build back, trying to get into marathon shape before the Berlin Marathon. We are just over 5 weeks away, if I'm doing the math right, from the Berlin Marathon. Lots of work to be done, especially after this latest lap. So let me get the camera set up and then I'll dive into a little bit about where I've been over these last couple weeks. All right, much better. Now let's dive in because I've only got about 30 minutes before I need to be showered and ready for work this morning. But where have I been over the last few weeks? I know it's been a while since an update, and that sort of absence from YouTube has mirrored a bit of an absence from running, unfortunately. I was kind of worried about this happening. I have never had like a big goal fall marathon this early in the fall. I did New York, but you end up doing a lot of New York training like through the start of the fall since it's a November marathon. But with a September marathon, training over the summer in the hottest months of the summer, I was pretty nervous. Although I will say things were going very well. The start of the training, the first third of training, everything went swimmingly, was hitting all the paces, legs felt good. And I even had the highest mileage July I think maybe I've ever had, at least within the last 3 or 4 years, because summer is usually when I have a lapse in my training. I don't have a ton going on. I don't usually have a fall race I'm preparing for, and so my running falls off. And one of the things I was excited about with Berlin was having that race to train for, to keep me motivated, to keep me pushing forward, and help give me a more well-rounded training cycle throughout the year. And all was going well. And then a mix of factors, both things within my control and things outside of my control, came into play to kind of bring things to a screeching halt, which is sort of where we find ourselves now, trying to crawl back out of over the next 5 weeks to get ready for this race. But just to quickly summarize, it was actually funny, I guess, is the only way to put it. But I had this week, I had a down week of training. My wife and I were traveling for a wedding. Where we were traveling was planning to do some nice trail runs. But unfortunately, it was one of those times where the wildfire smoke from Canada was coming in very thick. So it was unsafe to be outdoors. Incredibly smoky. This was out in like central Pennsylvania. And where we were, relatively remote location, no access to like an indoor gym, treadmill, or anything like that. Unable to go outside to train, so wasn't able to get in those training runs that I had hoped for. So that was the beginning of sort of a bit of a lapse. Traveled more, had a family wedding, actually did get in a nice long, I think like 10 or 11 mile run through the mountains in West Virginia. Brutal elevation, just up and down, but a really fun run. And I was very happy that I got that done since we were in West Virginia for a wedding. Lots of celebrations, lots of drinking, which usually means not lots of running for Ryan. So I was very happy that I was able to get that run in, and coming back from that trip, very quickly felt like I got my training back on track. I had a really strong week of training culminating in my Sunday long run. And I even was thinking during the run, like, hey, I had an off week, but here I am back at it. Everything feels good, back on track for the race. Paces are feeling good, legs are feeling strong. Finished that run on Sunday feeling great. Woke up Monday morning, still feeling good. Monday was a rest day, so just kind of hanging out, doing some recovery work, and then right before bed did some significant stretching just to hopefully aid in the recovery. And again, just sort of working in that rehab work to make sure that my legs are staying strong and staying in good shape for the race. Cut to Tuesday morning, and out of seemingly nowhere, I woke up and I could barely bend my left leg. And it felt muscular, whatever the injury was, but the muscle, the back of the hamstring used to like flex your knee, bring the lower part of the leg up, was incredibly painful. The whole knee was very stiff. And if you followed along during my training for the Mohican 100 miler, it was basically an identical injury or pain to what I was feeling, and came on exactly the same out of seemingly nowhere. Had no issues, nothing was feeling painful on the run, no little like nervous aches or anything like that. Everything felt really good. My legs were feeling very strong. And then it was after a recovery day and after a longer stretching session that I woke up in the morning with this pain. So the only thing I can surmise is maybe like I overstretched it, But I said this back when I was training for Mohican also, there was no point where I was doing a stretch feeling like, I might be pulling this too hard. No part of the stretching felt aggressive in nature, felt like too much. Like it just felt like normal everyday stretching. I mean, maybe I leaned into something a little bit too hard. I used like that stretching strap to get the hamstrings and maybe just pulled it a little bit too hard or held it in the pull for too long. Whatever it was, it led to this incredibly painful situation Tuesday morning where, like I said, just could hardly put weight on the leg, couldn't bend it, basically just had to sit with it elevated all day, wrapped tight in an ACE bandage. But having had the experience when training for Mohican, it seemed to recover pretty quickly, and I was back running pretty quick once I had taken the time to rest. So wasn't too nervous, was just gonna see how it recovered over the next couple days, and went pretty similar to how everything went preparing for Mohican. The first day was by far the worst. The second day, I didn't need to have it wrapped. I just continued to ice it a lot, kind of alternating heat and ice, and tried not to put too much weight on it whenever possible, and just tried to rest it some more. By the third day, felt mostly normal. It was really just like fully bending the knee, fully lifting up where I would still feel that pain a little bit, but was able to walk normally. It wasn't impacting my gait at all, so that was a great sign. So basically went through the whole week and then decided to test out a run on Friday, easy 3 miles. Went great, everything felt fine. A little stiff for sure, but kind of worked its way out. I just kind of attributed that to the normal stiffness of not having run for a few days. The first mile or so, you're loosening things up. But by the end of the run, felt great. Through the rest of the day, also felt fine. No aches, no pains, no issues. So all was looking good. And then I forget if it was Saturday or Sunday, went out to do another long run and was kind of going to play it by ear. I think I was supposed to do maybe 10 or 12 miles. And I was like, hey, I just took the whole week off. Probably not going to hit that, but we'll see what we can do. Started out nice and slow, and very quickly, the knee was just very, very stiff again. And I feel like stiff is the only way to describe it. It wasn't a pain, and it wasn't the same. I mean, the hamstring was still a little bit sensitive, but the knee itself just felt very stiff. And I was assuming probably from running, was still recovering from that trial run. So called that after. I think I probably tried to push through for maybe 2 miles. I made it, thinking that like, hey, maybe this is just the normal stiffness that'll work itself out. But by 2 miles, like, this is just getting worse. There's no use in pushing through this and just making things worse than they are. So took off from that and decided to just rest another week, doing some strength exercises since I could move around fine. Shifted the focus from, okay, if I can't be running, let's try to continue to do some rehab routine to just strengthen the knee and hope that helps. So a lot of single leg isometric exercises, again, focusing on strengthening some of the stability muscles in the knee to hopefully help out. But basically that leading into a combination of different trips that I've been taking with my wife, with some other members of the family. Just got back from a road trip with my dad that was a lot of fun. But all of that together meant I took more time off of running than I had anticipated. And now here we are, just over 5 weeks away from the Berlin Marathon, and I'm left wondering what is possible and what can I realistically do over the next 5 weeks to get myself as prepared as possible without risking injury, which seems to have been the name of the game for the last couple of training sessions or training blocks I've done for races. Just trying to find the balance of wanting to run as much as I can to make sure I'm having a strong race, but also not wanting to risk injury along the way. So I mentioned I did 5 miles today. 5-6 mile runs is about what my limit has been recently. I think I am gonna go out and try like a 10-ish mile run this weekend is gonna be my goal long run. And I do think I will probably try to safely ramp up the long runs somewhat significantly over the next couple weeks. Not too crazy. I don't think 20 miles is in the cards as much as I would like to do that before the marathon, but I'd like to get to at least 15, ideally like 17. I think from a confidence perspective, that would help a lot. I am totally fine if that's like a combination of run walking. I think just getting that distance under my feet will help me feel much more prepared for this race than I currently do. But I am I think just going to go into this similar to the mindset I had going into the 100-miler, knowing that it's going to hurt, knowing that I'm not necessarily as prepared as I can be for the race, but knowing regardless of how I'm feeling, it's going to be an amazing experience. So although I had come into training knowing that Berlin's a very fast course, was very hopeful to be aiming for a significant PR, I think it makes the most sense to kind of put the PR on the back burner for now and just enjoy the experience in Berlin. This is likely or potentially a once-in-a-lifetime race as I slowly work towards those world marathon majors, and so I don't want to jeopardize that experience just trying to grind through a time that hopefully I can hit at a future date. So putting the time goals on the back burner, just going out to enjoy as much as you can enjoy a marathon, just enjoy the experience in Berlin, enjoy the trip over to visiting a few countries over there when we make the trip out to run that race. So just looking forward to cataloging that experience and hopefully taking you all along for the ride. So that's where I'm at. That's how things are going. Not entirely unexpected. I would say this was a fear I kind of had. Summer training, although injury, I definitely wasn't as worried about. It was more the vacations and things like that getting in the way of training. But unfortunately, this is where we are. But we continue to move forward. Every step forward is progress, and so that's the goal right now. So just keep moving forward, keep logging the miles, and see what kind of training we can put together over the next 5 weeks. So that's where I'm at. I know I have been very absent over the last several weeks. My hope is that in these remaining 5 weeks leading up to Berlin, I will be much more present in taking you along for the ride to give you the training updates, let you know where I'm at in my training, how things are progressing, and as we get closer to the race, giving you a more realistic idea of what my expectations are there. So my apologies again for the absence. I hope you understand. I hope you enjoyed the update. I am happy to be back out on the road, back running. It is certainly feeling good, although getting back into the early morning wake-up routines has been rough. But every day it gets a little bit easier, and hopefully that will be true with the running as well. So thank you as always for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you'll go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you don't already, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel to keep following along with the running journeys. I hope your training is going much better than mine has been going over the last couple weeks. And until next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.